Hey guys, Luke here, and a bit of a different setup to normal. Usually I'm filming in my bedroom with a green screen, a black screen, something behind me. This time I got a weights bench behind me because I'm doing a bit of a workout. Got to work later, but I thought I still want to pump out a video this week. Still want to do my tips and predictions for round 5. So here we go, let's get into it. So on Thursday night we have the Brisbane Broncos taking on the West Tigers. It's at Suncorp, and let's be honest, the Broncos have been absolutely shithouse. I don't expect too much change, however I do think they will get the job done against the Tigers. Now the Tigers, they're kind of hot and cold. Sometimes they can be good, sometimes they can be bad. Last week they were bad, they also lost. Probably unlucky to lose, but at the end of the day they still lost. Broncos also lost. We all know Broncos have been shit. Not sure exactly what's going on there, but Pangai Jr. is out for his bit of a dog shot. I don't know how big of a miss he's going to be. Obviously he is a good player. When he's on, but I think he's someone they can replace. In terms of the Tigers team, Josh Reynolds was pretty good last week, but I don't know, there's just something missing in that Tigers team. They lack that real X factor, and I think the Broncos in front of the home crowd will be able to get the job done. So I'm going to go Broncos 1-12. On to Friday night. The first game is the Gold Coast Titans taking on the Penrith Panthers. Now, one team isn't exactly like the others. Obviously, Panthers, they haven't been great. They won last week, but it was probably the worst game of the season, maybe ever. It was that bad. The Titans, however, they haven't won a game. They're just total shit out. So saying the Broncos are bad, Titans are next level bad. Titans just not good. I'm not sure what's going on with their team. On paper, they have some pretty decent players. The halves came back last week and did absolutely nothing. I think the Panthers, their halves obviously haven't been doing a hell of a lot, but you know, they stepped up in the big moments, and I do think they will get the job done against the Titans. Although in the home crowd, maybe the Titans will do something good, but I don't think this week. Panthers 1-12. On to the second game of Friday night. We have the North Queensland Cowboys taking on the Melbourne Storm. Now you think this would be a pretty straightforward tip, and I think it will be. The Melbourne Storm should obviously win in theory, but the Cowboys are so, they're a team, you look at their side and you go, how are they not doing better? Their forward back is still outstanding, even though Tamalalo is out, but just on the field, they're not doing well. I don't know if it's the halves, I don't know if it's the backs, definitely the backs. Ben Hampton on the wing, what the hell's going on there? But the Storm, they got the job done last week. They weren't the best, but the Bulldogs did play very, very well, and they still found a way to win, even when it looked like they probably wouldn't. So that's a good thing for the Storm, and I do think they will get the job done regardless of it being in Townsville. I do think the Storm will win 13+. First game is Super Saturday. We have the South Sydney Rabbitohs taking on the New Zealand Warriors. Now, just like I said earlier with the Melbourne Storm one, this one should be a pretty straightforward game. I mean, the Rabbitohs, obviously they did lose last week to Manly, and Manly aren't exactly the best team, but something was just missing with the Rabbitohs. The New Zealand Warriors had a really good win though last week, so I don't know, going form-wise you think the Warriors should win, but I think we can all tell that the Rabbitohs are the better side, and you can't go a whole season undefeated. So Rabbitohs have got it out of the way. Maybe they can look to rebound here in front of a home crowd too. New Zealand don't generally travel very well, so you would think the Rabbitohs would win. However, we never know. This season's been so unpredictable. Times you think that team should definitely win. They never seem to win. So who knows? The Warriors could get a job done, but I'm not expecting it to happen. So I'm going to go Rabbitohs 1-12. Now into the second game of Super Saturday, we have the Newcastle Knights taking on the Manly Warringah Sea Eagles. Now, last week I just talked about it just then. Manly played very, very well, got the job done against the South Sydney Rabbitohs. In Golden Point, Cherry Evans came up clutch, got the job done. Tom Trbojevic though went down injured, and he's a massive loss. We saw how they've played with and without him. Obviously 10 times the side with him in the team. Obviously it's not going to happen this week. The Knights though, Caitlin Ponga moved back to fullback. They did look a lot better, but they still lost, which is, it's not looking good for the Knights. I thought the Knights would be way better by this point in the season. I know it's only round 5, but I thought it'd only take a few rounds for them to gel. Something's not right with their side. The dynamics aren't working. Mitchell Pearce has not been good as well. Hasn't been talked about too much, but Mitchell Pearce has not been good. Ponga's doing his best, but yeah, he can't carry the Knights, and I really don't know who's going to win this one. In theory, Knights should win. You think Knights on paper have the better side, but Manly just played very, very well last week. They showed a lot of heart. However, it is in the Hunter, it is at Newcastle, so for that reason, I'm going to take the Knights. It could be a dumb move, maybe, but I'm going to take the Knights 1-12. Now into the third and final game of Super Saturday, we have the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks taking on the Sydney Roosters. Now last week, the Sharks, they weren't terrible. They didn't get the win though, which is disappointing for Sharks fans, but hey, they had some injuries. They had a lot of injuries actually. Sean Johnson pulled out in the warm-up. Paul Gunn obviously didn't play. He wasn't supposed to play or anything, but Aaron Woods went down injured as well, a broken ankle it seems, so he's going to be out for quite a while. The The Roosters, on the other hand, they were pretty decent. The Roosters, probably one of their best games so far. They absolutely demolished the Broncos. It was just, yeah, it was really bad from the Broncos, but the Roosters, they were just on form. Scored one of the best tries of the season, maybe ever in the try. I think it was Joseph Minor who scored it, but looks like the Roosters are sort of finding their feet. I think Jake Fred will probably play this week. Even talks of Hargraves playing, but Cronk being back there just sort of steadied the ship a little bit, and Kiri, he kept up his form. Tedesco's still good. I think the Roosters should be able to get the job done quite convincingly, in my opinion. The Sharks team is pretty good, but Dugan at the back there doesn't offer the same as Moylan, and I think the Roosters, they'll just fly again. I think they'll win 13+. Now moving on to Sunday afternoon football, we have the St. George Illawarra Dragons taking on Mike Henry Bankstown Bulldogs. Now it feels like every week the Bulldogs are playing in the same time slot. I'm not complaining, it means I get to watch them, don't have to work or anything on Sundays, so it's good for me at the moment. But yeah, they did play very, very well last week, did the Bulldogs. Dragons also played very, very well. Dragons finding ways to win or at least compete in the games like I said they were. And you know, I think it's a credit to the side. Obviously, they've had a lot of injuries and a lot of off-field mishaps and all that, and yet they're still sort of producing on the field. Corey Norman is really, really stepping up once again, coming up with the big play, the clutch play. I never really rated Corey Norman, to be honest. I knew he was very talented, but I just didn't think he was a guy who could win you a game. And obviously right now, he is doing exactly that. He is winning games for the Dragons. So the Bulldogs better be very, very wary. Although the Bulldogs sort of seem to have the wood over the Dragons at this point. It seems whenever they play, the Bulldogs usually win, no matter how things are going. So I am expecting a win for the Bulldogs. There is a lot of bias there to that tip. But, I mean, the Bulldogs have been very, very impressive the last few weeks, and I think we can all agree that, you know, just they look like a way different team compared to they were in the first few weeks. Whether that's down to Foran being out, I mean, Foran did play when we won, but there's been a lot of changes in the side, and all it took was a goal-kicking miss last week for a loss to happen against the best team in the comp at the moment, the Melbourne Storm. So, for that reason, I'm going to be tipping the Bulldogs 1-12. Now into the last game of the round, we have the Canberra Raiders hosting the Parramatta Eels in Canberra. Now I've got to admit, I really don't know who to tip in this one. I thought going into the season the Raiders would be awful, to be honest with you. Even so, the Eels, I didn't think the Eels would be that good either. But both of them have actually showed some pretty impressive things in 2019. The Raiders find themselves in the top 4. I know it's only 4 rounds in, but nonetheless, they have been very, very good. Same could be said for the Eels. Eels have been very, very good. Blake Ferguson has made a massive impact to that side. Same as Junior Paulo, Sean Lane, a lot of good signings by the Eels. Obviously, Dylan Brown didn't play last week, but they did show some very, very good signs. They did play quite well. The Raiders also playing very, very well. Their signings have been very, very good. The Englishmen all just doing their jobs perfectly. And it's hard to get a read because they are playing at home. I think the Eels have the better side, but just because it's in Canberra, I do think Canberra will get the job done in front of the home crowd. So I am going to tip the Canberra Raiders. I'm going to say 1-12. A bit of a risky tip, but hey, I have to pick someone. Righto guys, that is the end of the video. A bit of a different one, obviously recording in a different place. It's the best I could do for the time being. Otherwise, there'd just be no video, and I didn't want to let you guys down and not give you my terrible, terrible tips. If you did manage to happen to enjoy the video, make sure you go ahead and give it a like. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Also, make sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. It's on the screen right now. Mr. Luke on YT. My Facebook page is in the description below. I've been posting a lot more on that as well, so go ahead and give me a like there. Also, make sure to add me on Snapchat. It's Mr. Luke on YT. Now, apologies if I was out of breath or you had to look at my disgusting face a little bit closer than normal, but like I said, best I could do. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.